What's going on, everybody? Happy March Madness. Hope everyone is enjoying the change in weather. Hope everybody is enjoying the different sporting events that's going on. College basketball picking up, the NBA picking up, whole bunch of things going around. The MLB is about to start up, which means that it's also the NFL offseason being in full swing, which is why we're here today. Of course, we're getting a little bit closer to the draft. If you're like anything like myself, you've been following free agency and things have been going crazy. So that's why we're here today to talk about where our teams are, to talk about where me personally, how I feel about the Commanders and our move so far, and how we inch closer and closer to this draft, which is going to lead us into the mini camps. And before you know it, it'll be September again, and it's going to be time to come back and try to compete for another Super Bowl. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into it. Like I said, there's been a lot of moves that's going on, specifically with my Commanders. So we're going to break down these moves. We're going to talk about what we like, what we don't like, what things we addressed, what do we still need to address, and pretty much what's going to happen going forward. So I'm going to jump right into it. First and foremost, coming off the big year last year, I've said it a few times. I'm going to repeat it now again. This is the first time in a lot of times where, there's been a lot of excitement going into the offseason. I think the major holes and the major gaps that we needed to fill and that we needed to address, first of all, it wasn't that many, but the ones that we needed to, I think we've been intentional with that. So let's start out with some of our transactions that we see here, right? So first and foremost, obviously, one of the biggest things, if you watched the Commanders play last year, was we had trouble stopping the run. We were like, I think, third from the last in the league when it came to stopping the run. There was a lot of times when you watch the games where it was hard for us to get off the field on third down and in situations like that. And it was one of the most frustrating things to watch when you can't stop the run. It's demoralizing for a defense. And is all the good things that we saw on the offensive side of the ball and all the positive things that we saw from guys like Frankie Louvu, of course, Bobby Wagner, some other bright spots on the defense. For all those things that we did well, one thing that we did not do was stop the run. So obviously that's been the major issue or point of address that we've seen so far. We signed a guy in Javon Kinlaw, who's actually a DC native, former first round pick for the 49ers, went on to play for the Jets last year. We brought him in to kind of fill the role of John Allen, who we let go. Obviously, John Allen didn't play a lot last year due to injury. That contract wasn't something that we wanted to take on. So we let him walk. And as a result, we had to, fill that depth somewhere. And of course, last year we did draft a D lineman as well in Newton. So hopefully he's going to come in big and step up for us. We still got Deron Payne in the middle. But like I said, last year, those guys really didn't get it done. So we're looking for somebody to step up and take on that role. And that's where Kinlaw comes in. I'll be honest, I don't love the contract. 3 years, 45 mil. He's coming off probably his worst production, as a professional with the Jets. Like I said, he's a former first round pick, so there's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of raw ability there, but we really haven't seen him blossom into what we want to see him. Hopefully, this fresh start will do that for him. I don't love the contract, as I said before. I think we kind of overpaid for it in 3 years, 45 mil. But what it does give us is some depth on that D line, which is what we're looking to do. Like I said, we signed Newton last year. We still have Payne, so hopefully those guys can get it together. I'm not a whole I'm not 100% convinced that we're done trying to add pieces on that D line, specifically on the interior. I think that may be something that we address in the draft, depending on who's available. That may be something that we address maybe, down the line with another free agent or even potentially a trade if there's a opportunity for somebody that can make a difference. But if not a D line, then maybe perhaps with our linebacker depth, but we're going to have to find some other guys that's going to help us in stopping that run. I see that we tried to make some moves. We also signed Eddie Goldman, who's another interior guy, to try to help with that. Like I said, with that depth and hopefully that rotation will allow us to get fresh bodies on the field to try to stop that run. But like I said, I'm not 100% convinced that we've done enough in that area. As far as quality, we brought in some depth and we brought in some good guys, some solid guys, but are they guys that are going to make a difference when it comes to stopping a run? That's still yet to be seen. So we'll see. One thing that I will say, a move that I definitely love is bringing in Jonathan Jones to add to that defensive backfield. Jonathan Jones, if you watched him in New England, you saw he was a dog. He was a dog on that corner. I think he's as a corner that could play very versatile. That gives us some extra depth at that position now as well with Sandstro, the rookie coming off of last year, a good rookie year, and then also of course Marshawn Lattimore who will be coming back, presuming that he's healthy. That give us some depth. Now we got a guy, between the three of them, we got the nickel covered. We got guys that can help out in the run game. We got guys that can, lock up with number one if we need them to. I think that's something that we definitely needed, especially with a high power offense like we have. It's probably going to be a lot of games where we're in shootouts or where we're in games where, teams are trying to play from behind and they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. So I love the fact that we went out and got Jonathan Jones. Love that move. Also, another move that I love, of course, some trades. Laramie Tunsil, that was huge. Securing that bookend at tackle is the next important thing after you have your quarterback. Obviously, we got our quarterback for the future. So getting a vet like Laramie Tunsil, that was to me, I think, the move of the offseason for our team that I love the best. It was something that we needed. It was an opportunity there, and we didn't spend too much on him. So I love that move. And then, of course, Debo. I like that move for a few different reasons. Number one, obviously, another guy at receiver, another weapon for Daniels in the offense, but not just what he does for the passing game, but I love what he does for the run game. That's another area that I really want to address in the offseason is not just, a run game as far as being more consistent with it, but more versatile weapons that we have. And Debo is a guy that definitely answered that. So he's not only a guy, of course, that you can get it done in the passing game and can be a good, compliment to Terry, but I think he can also still give him the ball in the backfield, and he can kind of open up that run game for us a little bit more. So I love those two moves, of course, more than anything else. We did add some edge rushers in Dietrich Wise, Jacob Martin, but once again, I'm not convinced that those are moves that are really going to make an immediate impact for us right now. I think those are more so depth moves, making sure that we have guys to fill the roster and making sure that we have guys that can step in if need be, but I'm not really 100% convinced that those are guys that are going to come in and make an immediate impact based off what we've seen from them in the previous years. So hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully those guys can step in. But overall, I really like Laramie Tunsil, Debo Samuel, and Jonathan Jones. I think those are our top three offseason transactions so far. Of course, we're going to miss guys like John Allen, but hopefully we can find some guys to step up and replace them. That being said, one thing that I will make a note of is that I think the front office was very intentional in bringing back the core of the team last year. Yeah, we lost, like I said, John Allen, and that was a huge loss. But other than that, there haven't been a lot of turnover with this team, and that's important because coming off a successful year and coming off a team that completely turned around the franchise, I think you send a good message saying that we trust the guys in the locker room. We have the guys that we need in this locker room to make it happen. And that says a lot about the culture. It says a lot about the continuity and the chemistry of the team. So I love the fact that they brought back so many different people. Obviously, we played well last year. Everybody contributed in different ways, whether it be special teams or depth at their position. So I'm glad to see that we had a lot of guys come back. Some guys took team friendly deals. A lot of people on 1 year deals, so we'll see how it works out. Obviously, guys like Zach Ertz, who's getting up there in age, Bobby Wagner, another one getting up there in age. So maybe it's do or die for these guys. This is a time where we're hoping to get the maximum production out of them, and then also we may want to address some replacements for them in the draft. So the fact that we're bringing back so many returners and so many vets, I think that gives us a lot of versatility in the draft that we don't have to get guys that are ready right away. We can get guys that kind of come in and learn, behind them, guys that are going to be special on special teams and find out where they fit in with this team. I think that puts us in a unique position to where, we don't have to strike the iron immediately. We don't have to go and land the blue chip guy right away. And of course, with our draft position, that's going to be hard to do anyway. So I love the fact that we brought back a core of the team that changed this franchise around. They'll forever be known as that. So hopefully we can come back and run it back and get to at least the conference championship and be able to capitalize off of that this year. So I love the fact that we brought back a lot of our guys. Like I said, that's just reiterating what the front office is doing and what the coaching staff is doing and how they're on the same page and how everybody's buying into the direction of the franchise. So that being said, now that we talked about kind of the moves we made, what things we addressed, and where we want to go going forward. As of today, what are our biggest needs? After the big name free agents are gone and going into the draft, I still think that we need to figure out a way to stop the run. It may not necessarily be interior D linemen. It may not necessarily be linebackers. Maybe it's a safety that plays in the box and somebody who's got that versatility like we've seen with Hamilton in Baltimore, or like we've seen with some other teams who find different ways to bring that safety down into the box and help out in that end. Maybe we can find that in the draft. There's a few guys that stand out to me in that aspect, but I think it's pretty much going to be the best available player when we think about the draft. Hopefully, we'll get our offensive lineman back that was injured last year. Just drew a blank on his name, but he was huge for us, and then he got injured in the in the NFC Championship. Sam Cosmi is the guy that I'm thinking of. He's important because he's definitely a stalwart on the offensive line, especially with the pass protection and also the run game. Towards the end of the season, our run game flustered a little bit. And of course, in that NFC Championship game without Sam Cosmi, we definitely felt the fact that he was missing. So being able to plug up some depth on that offensive line so that we don't have to run into that issue again, specifically on the interior and maybe at right tackle as well. We got our left tackle in Laramie Tunsil, but maybe there's a guy out there in right tackle that could shore up the bookends just to make sure that we protect Jaden. I wouldn't even be surprised if we went out and found maybe one more offensive weapon for the that side of the ball as well, whether it be at running back. Of course, you got Eckler getting up there in age. Brian Robinson, we'll see how he does. We brought back Jeremy McNichols, but maybe there's a guy that stands out to us at the running back position just to help out with those weapons and add versatility to the offense. But overall, I think our biggest needs are on the defensive side of the ball, particularly at that safety position or interior D line. We do have depth with the D line. We've added some edge rushers, but like I said, I just don't know if we've added that guy that is going to make a difference in stopping the run and helping our linebackers out and improving our ranking off of that. So those are my biggest needs right now. Definitely on the defensive side of the ball, let's just say. And I would say if we're going into the draft, which we'll talk about, in the next upcoming weeks, we need to, prioritize either a stalwart that's going to, shore up the interior, at interior D lineman, 3 technique nose tackle type guy. Or if we're going to trust Newton to step up and trust Payne to step up, then maybe we look at a safety position and see who can maybe rock down into the box and help us in that as well. Or perhaps even some depth at linebacker. So it's really going to depend on who's the best available defender that can help us in the run game and then going from there. But those are pretty much the biggest needs that I've noticed. As always, you can follow the gang at our socials posted here. Make sure that you stay tuned to hear about the rest of the teams and their needs and their analysis. But overall, we're off and running into the offseason, and I'm happy to say that overall I'm happy with the moves the Commanders have made. Looking forward to the draft, looking forward to the rest of free agency to see how we plug up the needs. But without further ado, it's yours truly, Coach Mike Dub.